Thank you for having me, and thank you all for participating and joining in this topic of water in Wall Street. And this will be a look at how investors are studying and interested in water. And my name, as mentioned, is Monica Freyman. I'm the director of the Investor Water Hub, and I'm both very passionate about water and water resources, having been trained as a freshwater ecologist studying Great Lakes freshwater ecosystems. But I also am very interested and engaged in financial markets, having worked over a decade as a chartered financial analyst. And so I have the pleasure and the interesting work of directing the Investor Water Hub, which is a global group of investors who are trying to become more water aware and improve their water research practices to inform their daily investment decision making. And they're also very interested in educating peers in investment and financial markets. So without further ado, Ceres is, I work with Ceres, and the Investor Water Hub is a working group of Ceres, and we're a nonprofit that's been around for 2.5 decades, working both with the institutional investment community and business community to build a thriving, sustainable global economy. As part of that work, we also produce a lot of research on not only water, but climate, energy, insurance risks, and some policy work as well. And all that information is publicly available on our website at ceres.org. So why are investors becoming more interested in water? Increasingly, they very much are. They're recognizing elements such as population growth, increasing climate variability, groundwater depletion, water-intensive commodities and in price spikes, degradation of water quality, underinvestment in water infrastructure, the increasing importance of the human right to water and sanitation, social license risks. Those are certainly very large and growing risks to investors, and poor regulatory oversight often are elements that investors are increasingly becoming aware of. And they're seeing some of those risks starting to manifest in financial performance. From everything from, in the black chart, you're seeing a slump in some bond prices related to a tailing spill. In Latin America, there's been multi-billion-dollar mining projects that have had to been abandoned or set aside for large periods of time due to social license concerns in communities being concerned about their water resources, as well as a lot of water risks are being recognized as being in supply chains, not only in commodities and food and beverage companies, but also in technology and in other sectors as well. And it's not just investors that are investing in companies, but also in bonds and lending money through the debt markets. So, for example, they're increasingly seeing impacts to bond prices due to drought and other water risks. So you're starting to see, if you start to snoop around Wall Street and Wall Street research resources, you do see increasing evidence of investor interest in water. So this is just a snapshot on this slide showing the Chartered Financial Analyst Institute, the CFA Institute, which is the leading professional institute for those that manage money. And they now have a water risk chapter in their online environmental, social, and governance investing course, for example. But there's a number of other signs that the investment community is very interested and engaged on water issues. But it's important to also not lump all investors together in one to understand water and investment issues and engagement. The community is very much divided into different kinds of investors. So you have everything, as you can see on the left-hand side of the screen, from direct investors who invest in large water infrastructure or large infrastructure projects or manufacturing. You have investors such as municipal bond investors who lend a lot of money to cities and water utilities and infrastructure as well. You also have large investors investing in publicly listed companies, from Ford to General Mills to Coca-Cola to mining companies, and they have their own particular unique approach to water, as well as impact investors who are a growing and important niche, and I would say it's grown up beyond the niche, but impact investors are very much aligning environmental and social objectives with financial objectives, and doing some very innovative things related to water as well. And not on this list, but you know, shouldn't be missed, there are also faith-based investors. So Ceres and many investors work and are informed by a lot of the issues that faith-based investors actually bring to the table as well, and are very much part of these water conversations. So with a closer look at the municipal bond investors, so these are the investors that lend money to cities, and they are increasingly recognizing that cities and utilities that do good water resource, long-term water resource planning, climate planning, planning towards water efficiency actually can be differentiated potentially and have financial benefits and better financial stability. So Ceres and a number of investors that we work with are increasingly recognizing and talking to cities and utilities about this kind of planning. So sort of an interesting and exciting area of work. Another development in the municipal sector is in the water infrastructure sector is the development of the green bond market. So this is a market that is trying to funnel money towards greener types of investments, and there are certainly a number of water-related green bonds, and there's a newly developed standard for water projects that is trying to make sure the green bonds aren't greenwashing, and actually have a third-party verification system to make sure that the water projects are credible, and the new standard's been developed really looking at climate resiliency and adaptation related to water projects. So certainly a lot of opportunity for the water community to be more engaged with those type of standards developments. So in terms of also the investors that look at publicly listed companies, there are a number of approaches and ways that investors think about water, and if you're interested in finding out more, we did a global survey at Ceres of 35 global investors across the world and how they were researching water and water risks and issues. And so this handbook, which is available on the website under Ceres and Investor Water Handbook, describes some of those practices. But just to give you a flavor, you know, some of the practices are that investors are increasingly collaborating with either academics on the ground, specific water expertise, or consulting firms, or you know, or groundwater hydrologists and others to help them assess where they're placing big bets on an industry or a company, and you know, if the water risks they're facing are being properly considered by those companies. So you're seeing that kind of work being done more often, and you're also seeing investors actually working to do studies. So there's now a Columbia University study and a Concordia University study in conjunction with some investors trying to understand financial risks related to water in the mining sector, for example. Increasingly, there are tools like the World Resources Institute Aquatic tool, but other geospatial tools that investors are trying to use to understand place-based water risks. So I'd say it's early days, and far more work needs to be done in this area, but an increasingly interesting area. There's also a lot of comprehensive engagement strategies with investors and companies. So recognizing when a company may have high water impacts to resources or high water risks, they'll engage with management and the board on these issues increasingly. And you'll also see in this next slide, this represents a snapshot of a study of shareholder resolutions related to water. So investors increasingly have been bringing and filing shareholder resolutions to companies on water issues. So that means that the management of that company needs to address that issue, or it comes to a vote at the annual general meeting. And so we've done a study of the past 10 years, over 200 resolutions, and here in the pie chart you can see which sectors have been targeted, oil and gas, electric, gas and utilities, including coal, food and agriculture, and also to a smaller degree banking and financial services on shareholder resolutions related to water. So those are kind of the target sectors and on a number of different issues. But that is also available on our website for those who want more information. So as far as the Investor Water Hub, so this group of investors that I'm working with and directing, we're a working group of over 80 institutional investors with an advisory committee of key investors from Breckenridge to ICCR, Impacts, Norges Bank in Norway, PGGM in the Netherlands, the Park Foundation, the University of California Endowment, Sustainable Insight Capital Management, and the Principles of Responsible Investment as an advisory committee. We all are working together now to try to develop more effective research practices to understand water issues better, and also to help support better ideas in financial markets related to water. As part of our work, we are now developing a toolkit to help guide investors on just how to start. So many investors, mainstream investors, have not given water any thought, or water issues any thought at all. So when they come to Ceres or other peers, the toolkit that we're developing and launching in 2017 will be kind of a place to start. So it'll map kind of how to do water analysis as an investor, some preliminary ideas, and also some resources for more information. So an opportunity for the water community, and something we've really been trying to engage more with water resource folks, is very much looking for feedback and ideas for the investment community with your expertise. One of the ideas that we're developing in the toolkit is also very much around risk pathway analysis. So in this presentation or the slide, you see that, for example, in the mining sector, there could be cumulative effects due to toxic discharge, and this is completely illustrative. But what investors are now trying to map is, how do you understand this water risk on the ground, and how does that relate to a financial risk or something investors should be aware of? So they want to understand the probability of a large impact from this type of a risk, and how that actually leads to a financial impact. And also, it can lead to social conflicts, and kind of what are the different risk pathways related to a water resource issue. And recognizing that an issue can be important and material to an investor even though it doesn't have a financial impact. If it is a community concern, if it is a stakeholder concern, that too can be very important to the investor. So we're trying to really work through how to do this type of risk pathway analysis more comprehensively as part of our work. Opportunities for the water community. I think investors do very much want to have deeper connections with the water community, and there is very much an educational curve that they're trying to climb, both in the hub, but in the greater investor community, doing more joint studies. I think there's a lot of good knowledge and information in the water resource community that I think needs to be connected more with the financial community as well. Another opportunity is very much around data. Investors are hungry for place-based water data that is something that they can translate and use in kind of the financial market format. So Ceres is very much now also trying to map good databases out in the world, which are many, but what are the ones that could be useful for non-water folks, or how could we use good databases and perhaps translate some of that data to be more useful to those in the financial field that are trying to understand their impacts on water resources and also their risk to water, poor water resource management. There's also a lot of opportunities with the water community to engage with the financial standards setting and regulatory bodies. So, for example, the green bond market, there are a number of standard settings going on, and having scientists and water resource experts weighing in is very much welcome. So a lot of these standard settings bodies are reaching out for public commentary. That certainly is an opportunity. Stock exchanges now are looking to have some water data for companies that want to list on stock exchanges. So what should that data be at minimum? The Security and Exchange Commission is also seeking comment on everything from mining practices and for other companies, what kind of water risk information should be embedded in those financial filings. And there are also a number of investor databases that are looking to capture more environmental and social and governance data, CDP, SASB being two organizations of many, but also I think it's welcome to have more water resource experts weighing in on those as well. So those are some of the opportunities that I wanted to share, and I hope that this brought a very quick and rapid overview of some of the work that's being done with the investment community in trying to understand water a little bit better. Please do reach out to myself, Monica Freyman at Ceres, or any of my colleagues at Ceres if you want more information on this work, and we're always looking to engage and have more connections, with the water community and of course and other stakeholders in this work. So feel free to reach out anytime, and I'm going to pause and see if there are any questions.